Oh, now I'm able to record. Half res, but fine. Okay, fine. Okay. So, good morning, everybody. Color spaces. So, I'll just recapitulate what was requested. We wanted to share my screen. Share. Okay, so we wanted to kind of collect all the examples of how can we use different color spaces in our compositing, and it's kind of sent me to quite a rabbit hole of the billions color spaces that we have in general. And I recommended you on the WhatsApp channel amazing video from Victor Peretz, which actually put together all the important stuff, and I very recommend you to read it if you, or to look, just to watch it. It's just only 1 hour, and if you were looking this like twice speed, you over like in 40 minutes. So that's something that I will definitely skip today, because otherwise it will be not too much time. So generally, after kind of like all the snippets that you sent to me, I have like 4 color spaces that we will talk about it today, and mostly it will be other people and not me that send it to me. So, but generally it's going to be log, LAB, it will be YCbCr and HSV. Okay, so four different guys, and each one kind of like is used slightly different by different people. I think I will start with log, and then Ernest will talk about LAB, and then we have a few people send us tricks in this color space, and the last one will be HSV. We'll try to kind of like be as fast as possible, because I don't think that kind of we will be able to otherwise finish that. Anyway, stop me if that will be too fast, and I will start with the log. Color space. Okay, so generally, basically, let's start with simple ramp, and that will be introduction that most of you will already know. So this is ramp from 0 to 1, and it's represented linearly. Okay, and in linear way. And if I will plot this scan line to share the Victor Peretz link also, yeah, we will. So if we will plot this these values, we will get just linear. Just a line basically that's going from 0 to 1. Okay, so then if we will go inside of the log color space, which will be, in this case it will be Alexey log C, and our line will look like that. Okay, so let's talk about this for a moment. So first of all, I will like really log. So originated from kind of like from the need to store information from negative. Okay, and negative is like it's before digital. We try to capture as much as possible information that our human eye can capture, and that's how emulsion is reacting on the light in the film cameras. And okay, in very similar way, our eyes also reacting in logarithmic way, meaning we're getting from the world not the all information that it can offer, because sun, for example, is extremely bright, and there is many steps of information, like bit depths, we can say. Okay, and but we don't see that because we don't need it. Okay, so then we invented the film cameras and emulsion, and it was recording the information in very similar way that our eyes are doing that in logarithmic. Okay, so what we actually see here in this curve, okay, this is Alexey log C. It's slightly different from Cineon, but it's also log C. It's log Cineon log Itor. I will mute you. What it does. Okay, so let's have a look on the few very important parts. Okay, so when I'm looking on the linear, we see we have 0 in 0, 0, 0. We have 1 here. I'll just make my pointer. This is the 1. This is the 0. When we're going to log, there's few things are happening. So first of all, our 0, it's not on 0 anymore, and that's the distance between 0 and actual 0 of the log. Okay, and that will be important later. And our 1 is also not here. It's way lower. Okay, in our picture, you can visually see that it's very dull in color. So what it gives us more opportunity to store information which is higher values later on with logarithmic curve. Okay, and still we will be within from 0 to 1. So our efficiency will be very high. We'll be able to put inside of the same box way more information by storing information in a logarithmic way later on. I will show it in a moment and you will understand what I'm talking about. And here, this is our area of the very, very deep blacks and also of negative values. So we can store also inside of logarithmic color space values which are going under the 0, but still we will be inside of our cube. Now, let's have a look like a little bit differently. So this is my ramp and it's starting from 1. And now I will say that the widest point of my ramp going to be not 1 but 4 in this case. Okay, and as you can see, it stores here information that we need actually, and then in the same way it stores information that we don't need, that we don't see in real life, and it's wasting. Our box is way, way bigger and wasting a lot of space by storing information that actually is not visible. Okay, now let's have a look how logarithmic curve will react on that. So this is our cube that we had. It looks the same, almost the same. I think it's even the same. And then all additional information is stored in a logarithmic way, which means we're wasting on storing this information just this amount of data. Okay? And later we're storing less and less and less. So all this information stored, if you look vertically, in very little amount of kind of like space. We're wasting very little space on that, while we have the most of information which is important in very big chunk of our space. Okay, so that's the logarithmic. That's how it works. There is a few types of logarithmic. There's many of them. So each camera that we have now, we have Panasonic, Sony, Canon. Each one will have their own logarithmic color space that is transferring the information from the camera and storing this in a certain way, in this way, actually in logarithmic way. And each sensor is slightly different. Each curve will be slightly different. Okay, this is the overview. I will jump forward to see how actually it affects us. So that was a representation of the color correction. Okay, so not the color correction actually. Now I will show you. I will arrive to the pictures in a moment, but now the explanation on the why we actually want to color correct stuff in log sometimes and not in linear. Okay, so if we will go back to 1. Okay, that's the from 0 to 1, and I will bring the grade node and I will have a look what's happening in layer space. Everything is as expected. Okay, I'm gamma down things. Okay, very simple, and gamma is reacting as it's supposed to react. 0 not changing, 1 is not changing, everything in the middle going down. Okay, let's go now and make our life complicated and make the white point 10. Okay, now from the moment that we're making white point 10, we're immediately getting the problem. Yes. From the moment gamma is going down, everything which is above is going up. Okay, and everything is kind of like in negative values, if there will be, it also will react in very weird way. So it will start go up. Okay, so that's the usual problem. Okay, and log has answer to it. Okay, so if we'll go to log and we'll try to do the same gamma treatment. Okay, everything which is here within 1, it will react in way more proper way. Okay, and also it gives us very nice curve here, which is not going to crush our blacks. Okay, so that will be one thing. There will be few additional ones as again will react as well. Let me just go lower, please. Okay. So all the information that is actually important for us here, the curve will be never reacting in a way that we're not expecting it to react in the way. Okay? So far, clear?
Good.
Okay, fine. Now let's have a look on the next one. Which is very important, is interpolation. Okay, and that's something that most of the examples that are collected here, they will be connected or color correction or how the pixels are interpolated, are filtering. Okay, so and let's check this out on this example. So I did prepare like 9 pixels. Okay, and one of them is very high value. Is this one is 15. Another one is kind of like close to 0, 0.5, and so on and so on and so on. Okay, so let's have a look what's happening when we're starting to transform these pixels. So this is just, I'm not making big picture because that will be way more simple to understand. From the moment we I disabled my color space conversion for now, and I will go and transfer it by 1 pixel. Okay, everything is reacting in the way we expected. Okay, we just went pixel left, pixel right. Now, from the moment we're going half a pixel, 0.5, what Nuke or any other like application will do it to interpolate between the pixels. Okay, in this case it's cubic interpolation. He will, in general, there's few ways to interpolate stuff, but in general what he will do, he will take the middle pixel, and in order to create the middle pixel now, because we in between pixels, he will just take average of the surrounding pixels. Okay, very simple. Okay, because he doesn't have now specific pixel to position it. Here we went 1 pixel left, 0.5 we don't have. Okay, and there are a few ways to kind of to create this interpolation. There's a cubic, there's kind of like all these key summon and so on and so on. But generally, very simple, average of the pixels around it. And where is the problem in linear space? And the problem is that this pixel here is extremely high. And if you will make average between this pixel and very low pixel, for example, you have 50 and you have 1, okay, the average will be extremely high, okay? So it's not going to be something in between, very kind of like very soft thing. So in this case, if we translate 0.5, we can see that actually our neighboring pixels are becoming brighter in general. Okay, and that's what's happening with every time when we're making the linear transformation, motion blur, defocus, and so on and so on. We have this blowing effect. Okay, now if we'll go to log is flattening everything. Okay, and that means that the difference between neighbor pixels are way lower, and as a result, we have way more reliable or way more even output of the picture in the end, because the average is way closer to whatever these pixels are, because of the flatness of material. Okay, so that was the whole kind of theoretical things. Now let's have a look on real examples. So first of all, let's have a look on the fire. Very much, let me go to film. Okay, so usual example, fire, extremely high exposure, and if I will try to grade my fire in a way that I'm kind of like sometimes used to do, I'm upgrading my gamma. You see, I'm just like not getting the expected result, because all the gamma information between 0 and 1 is actually on the edges of the pixels, because here we are like 5, 10, 8. Okay, so that's not going to work. Also, my gain is not going to give me also plausible result, because it's operating mostly in the very kind of like middle way, I would say, of the curve. But if I will go to log space, now again, I'm going to Alexey log C because I like it. Okay, now here gamma is way more efficient. Okay, we can see that from the moment we're moving this, it's starting to be actually, it's way easier to operate on this material, because everything is between 0 and 1, and well, that's where our kind of like simple mass is operating, like our kind of like our gamma, our gain. Okay, not with gain, you need to be very careful with log space, because from the moment you're gaining this up even a little bit, when you're going out of the log space, it's going to jump very high. Okay, so that's something that, for example, if I'm here going very little values, I'm immediately exploding from the moment I'm going out of the log curve to linear curve. Okay, but that kind of like, that was with color correction. Transformation and scaling in log. Okay, so let's see, I don't remember what was it. Okay, then we have this guy here. Why we have Sharpen here, transform. I'm not so sure why this guy is here. Okay, so now we will have basically examples of if we transforming something. Alt-E. Why I have this? That's just... So from the moment we are in... Yeah. Okay, so this is two transformations which are done, one in log and one in the... that's why. Yeah, because I wanted to introduce some very crazy pixels. Okay, so when transformation is done in linear and we have overbrights, and that's kind of like what I created here with the color correction. In the moment when we're having the interpolation, we're immediately having this blown up bright, blown up basically overbrights. Okay, from the moment we're going back to log, we are way calmer with that. Okay, and that's also many examples which are very similar. Now next one, if we're comping overexposed background with the normal with the background which is kind of like has normal exposure. Okay, so right now we are in linear, and this is problem that I see like in so many comps. We so frequently comping just over the sky, over the fire, and if you will comp in linear, you basically have a picture that looks like that, while if you will comp in log, you will get all your edges back. Okay, it's all based on the example that I show you from above, that in log we are just flattened. Okay, so all the neighbor pixels are reacting in way more kind of like a calm way, let's put it like that. They're not eaten. Let's see what we have here. This is, for example, that's example of if we have a very fine foreground. For example, we have this little explosion, okay, which is will be most likely pretty much eaten by the fire. If you're comping this is in linear, so again we have this whatever faint semi-transparent explosion, we have the fire, and then we're trying to comp one of the top, the other, we're basically losing it. But if you're doing this in log, you can have shitloads of details. Let's put it in this way. Then usual sharpening in log. That's kind of like usual advice that you will get, and that will be the comparison. Probably, yes. Okay, so if we'll have a look again on a pretty bright guy, which is sharpened in log, and that's kind of in linear space, we're immediately going to negative values. Okay, and in log it's going to be pretty nice, I would say. And now, as you can see, I'm starting to jump basically to the examples because they're all based on the same kind of like very basic idea that I described in the beginning. Then we have denoise in log. It just generally behaves better in log. I don't know if it's explanation because we don't know what's happening actually. No, it's not here. It was denoise. It was. Do I have it here? Basically, it's not going inside of the negative values when you trying to use neat video, and frequently when we use neat video and we did it not in log space, we just again we jumped to negative values. I don't know what's happening inside of there, but basically that will be another example. And then defocus, it's just kind of like, you know, same principle. If you defocus linearly, you're going to have more bokeh. If you defocus in log, well, you're going to have way kind of like calm picture there. If you want it or you don't want it, that will be absolutely up to you. There's many times, in many cases, we really don't want to get bokeh when we want to say, well, this material actually not supposed to react in this way, or background doesn't look like that. Blur, very similar. Okay, blown up, not blown up. And of course, motion blur. Do I have here transform? And I'm always done. So as you can see, that's the motion blur, how it looks like in linear. It's very harsh, and that's frequently we really don't want to have it in this harsh way. It's kind of like just disturbing, and then like in log, it's going to be something like that. Okay, so then Marco, do you want to talk about your keying in log?
Okay.
You can control my machine if you're in studio.
No, I'm not in studio.
Okay, good. Then shoot.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share 2 little tricks to work with a better Luma keyer. And yes, I just prepared a little example of some dark air over a very bright sky. And yes, if we see like the difference in value in terms of luminosity, we have a good candidate for a Luma keyer. And in the first case, on the left, maybe if you expose up the gamma at 3, I think we see better.
If I gamma up?
Yeah, yes, a little bit. Yeah, it's perfect. Like in the I'm using just a keyer from Nuke, set luminance, and there is not a lot of information and nothing I can do with it. One thing that I can do in the second case is picking the values of the luminosity of the sky and bringing them close to 1. And if I feed these to my keyer, by the way, I'm inverting just because I want to key the hair and I want to see them as white and the sky as black. But if I feed like the second case and we see compared to the previous one, the result is better. We have more information, but still it's not great. And here's where our color space come into action. In the third case, if we change the color space from linear to logarithmic, as Alexey said, this is applying a curve, and it lifts a lot the blacks and the middles. The result is an image that is much less contrasted. And if we feed these to our Luma here, this I almost always do it because it gives much better result, nicer edges, and a lot of more data to play with. And yeah, just another thing that what this new node here does is creating a luminance image for us that is made by 30% of the red and 59% of the green and 11% of the blue, approximately. And the point is that we are throwing away some information that maybe can be useful to pull our key. So the idea behind that technique, the first one, is that we can use 100% of the red plus 100% of the green plus 100% of the blue, and then use the total to pull our key. So if we start always with the transformation of the color space from linear to logarithmic, and then there are many ways to do it. Usually I do it with a channel merge, and I'm plusing the red channel with the green channel, and I'm putting the result in the alpha channel. And then again, with another channel merge, I take the result to the alpha channel, and I plus the blue channel, and again, I'm outputting it in the alpha channel. So the result are crazy values from the alpha channel. So I need to reduce these to a more workable range, and with a gain, I can put the values of the alpha channel closer to 1. Then I'm just inverting for the sake of it. And another advantage of these techniques is that I can use a color lookup node, so I can talk to the alpha with a curve that sometimes can give a nicer result and more control than just a slider. And here I just did an S curve, and if we compare this with the previous case, we see that we have much nicer edges, more data to play with, and more details. That's it.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Marco.
Thank you.
Okay, then what we have, that's kind of like that, yeah. Okay, so let's jump to next one. Ernest, take it away.
Sure, let's go for it. I have control here. Yeah, so the lab color space, as Alexey was saying, is not a very intuitive one. Sorry about that. But basically, the lab color space, what it's storing is, as you can see here, in the red channel, it's going to store your luminance. In the green channel, on the negative spectrum, you're going to tend to go to greens, and on the positive, to magentas. And on the blue channel, you go from cold to warm. So basically, I like to think about it like the temperature, magenta, and intensity you have here. So being here, the green channel, the blue channel being here, and this will be the red channel here. So let's jump into it. So for example, just for you, like a pure test, if we modify just the right channel, like we come down, as you can see, it's changing the luminosity. Very similar to what HSV will do. If we change the green channel, for example, and we offset the values, it will go to more warms and to more greens should be. Sorry, I'm clumping the values. So it will go to more greens. Take care with this because it requires to work in negative values. So every time you put a gray node, be sure to not clamp it. So as you can see, the green channel goes to greens to magentas, and the blue channel goes to colds, that is more this cyan tone, to more warm. So here is the first case scenario. If you're very subtle on the blue channel, you can almost offset the white point with just one slider, as it looks like we're having a white balance more towards tungsten light here, and in here will be the opposite. We have a white balance a little bit too warm. So this is the first case. In case you need to pull down the image very quickly, especially I use it for this reason most of the time for the blue channel. So this is one of the things, but it has very nice side effects. So for example, here we have a Despill on the green channel based done in key light with the standard values, and on the AP Despill with the standard values. And here you can see on the colors here of Marcy what is happening to the greens and to the rest of the colors. But as we know, then if we go to the lab color space, the green channels are in the negative. If we use directly on a gray node in lab, sorry, I cannot open the node. Well, anyhow. So, for example, for the spilling yellows, in this case, just clamping the greens on lab is going to give you this very nice yellow hair for blonde or natural skin tone very quickly just with a clamp node. So this sometimes to support the Despill, it's very useful. And again, this is just
it's open.
You change it for a clamp. Sorry.
Yeah, I changed it for a clamp, so it will be more kind of like a clean kind of. Not
it's
great.
fine. It's perfectly fine. And as you can see, what is happening to the green channel is it's deviating towards the yellows. A pure green becomes a yellow for free. I have to say that I used that a lot in the past. Now with the AP Despill, you can force the color of the respill very easily. So it's not that I'm using it that much anymore. So meaning that in here, just so you know that I'm kind of cheating the presentation in the AP Despill. If you go directly to the respill colors, to the yellows, you will get very close to the same result. But anyway, if you don't have access to AP Despill wherever you are, or this is a very light way of doing it, you have like again very nice a natural Despill to yellow. And also it has a nice side effect. As you can see, the greens are changing to these autumn colors. So you can play around with it in case you need to do a spring to autumn in a very, very quick way. You're basically translating all the greens to more warm tones. So in case you need to do this very quickly for a matte painting or whatever, it kind of works for a concept. So the next thing is, again, we saw that we can offset to magenta tones. These magenta tones usually contribute to the liveness of the flesh colors. So for example, in here, you see that she has some kind of purplish tone on the lips and the cheeks. So in here, again, we can, if we take a look at the green channel only, we can see that it's already very cleanly like giving us the lip information or the magenta information of the cheeks and the lips. Well, so we can use this for masking directly. In this case, I just like make a white point like a little bit here. You can also reduce a little bit here, whatever you want to do. As you can see, we're only working on the green channel. And then just using this as a mask again towards the green channel. So increasing the value, so this will accentuate the difference between magenta and greens. You can have like a very simple way to enhance lip tone. And actually you can go like bananas here, like at 4. So you will see that immediately the tone of the lips has become more bright, and also the cheeks. So you don't need to mask it or anything like that. It's just applying it to the flesh tone. Of course, this is just beauty work, so I think I needed to use it once, but it also happens if you have a blue screen that it will kind of kill as soon as you Despill it the natural tone of the skin. You can play around with this to make it more alive or less alive, more red, etc. Cool. So this will be for the magentas and the greens. And we talk about how to, this is the same offset for the blue channel, the cold and the warm. And also, like, because we know that in the blue channels we have the coals and the worms, we can use it also as a kind of oh, this is new. You change the input image, huh?
Yeah.
Well done. So basically, we can use it to, if this is a blue channel, sorry, let me show the original image. As you can see, this is a blue screen with a lot of blue. I don't know how it's going to react with the tesseract, but we can use it to mask like every blue information that we have here. So, because it's basically on the blue channel, in this case, it's just a grid on the blue channel to get as much as we want here, or to reduce, to increase, to contrast the blue channel. And we can use it like to get a nice Despill of the blues on the blue screen that actually, if we pick up with this, let me see how it will react. Yeah, so as you can see here, we have the two differences between the selection, and yeah. So sometimes I use it in this case because she's all blue, will kill it a lot. So you will need a garbage matte. But what I mean is basically you can also select the blue colors with lap. It's very similar to what you will use in a blue here. But you can use it with this in case you need to do it, or you think it's giving you better results. And here is the color representation of what it's doing actually. So the interesting part is, sorry, let me bring it to a color space that it's a little bit more neutral. So this is our color wheel. So this is what's happening when we're clamping the green channel. So as you can see, it's not killing the greens. So it's extending the yellow, the complementary towards the green wheel. So this is what the key light is doing to the color wheel by, again, these are the default values. I'm not doing anything to it. You can tweak it to get to the same result, but this is fairly quick to extend the yellows, or the AP Despill actually is bringing it to neutral. So again, this is a trick because the AP Despill has this amazing respill color functionality that it's very easy to recolor it. Just so yeah, as you can see, you can get to the same result very quickly, but it's very cheap. It's 3 nodes, very lightweight nodes. So if you need to extend the yellows to the greens, this helps. And this is the opposite. We're clamping the blue channel. So as you can see, what it's doing is extending the red tones to the blue channel. Of course, the luminosity is preserved. It's a little bit lower. So it kind of has this funky color here. And here we have the opposite. So in this case, what I'm doing is flipping the channels, the blue channel here and the green channel here. So it's the negative. So the negative becomes positive, the positive becomes negative, and we're clamping it again. So in this case, it's extending towards the greens, the cyans. As you can see, it's killing the warm tones, and it's making the greens and the yellows and the oranges more to this magenta and cyan tone. It can be interesting for some edge extent that you have some artifacts or whatever from greens and you need to have them a little bit more cyanish. And in this case, on the opposite side, we're killing the reds and we're extending the blues and the yellows. So that's kind of the non-intuitive thing. It's like the channels don't represent a pure color like we are used to in lab. They represent an offset on the hue. So yeah, you need to wrap your head around it. But if you have some, it's fun to talk about it because it's a weird color space. So the same for the gain. You can easily like kill the two components. So if you multiply all values to 0, in this case on the green channel, all the greens and all the magentas will go to 0. So as you can see, the result is offsetting the curve, the hues. So you just have a very monochromatic image. So you just get with the pure complementary, not pure, this is dogmatic, but you have like these cyans and yellows in one side. This is just the green channel to 0. So negatives go to 0, positives go to 0. And the same for the green channel, the blue channel. So we're having this monochrome thing. Actually, if you need to make a sepia image or an old filter, this kind of works well sometimes, but this is just to play around. And here is just an example of crunching the values to represent more what is width is exactly doing. So this is just clamping this to width, not clamping, but extending to so compressing the values. But it's more or less redundant. So this is exactly what you need to know. And regarding the luminance, actually, sometimes I use it because in the same way that the HSV preserve the color, like sometimes, sorry, no, the red channel only. So you don't see any hug. Sometimes making gammas in this color space like HSV2 can give more natural gamma down. That is what Alexey was doing, saying here, this is the gamma down, more or less at the same values. So you can see that the lab as HSV and other ones are not saturating so much it's hard to see on the Google image, but it's kind of very detailish. You will notice that it doesn't saturate too much the colors. So yeah, and yeah, hope you have fun. If you have any good cases, use the sketch for this. Send me a snippet because we can expand this thing.
All right, thank you, Ernest. Let's go to next one, YCbCr, another completely not intuitive color space. Okay, so this guy was invented when I guess television came in, and when we realized that we need to transfer big amount of information. Now it's like RGB, it's kind of like holding a lot of information in 3 channels, and then they say, well, it's kind of like repetitive information, but most of the information that we actually need is stored in white channel and green basically. So they say, well, Y will be green, and then there will be just a difference between what is this? B is just give me a second. What did I practice? I have Wikipedia here. Okay, basically 2 chroma components, CB and CR. Okay, so which are holding way less information. So all information is in white channel, the green channel basically, which we were the most sensitive to. And then they said, well, and the rest will be in these 2 channels. And that's kind of a very good example. Like, if I have this picture, and if I'll have a look, if I'll go to YCbCr, we'll go to Luma, which is red now, and that's the all information. And have a look on this. This is the CB and CR. That it's easy to compress. Okay, there's just no information, so you can write a compress algorithm which will transfer this information, and that will be very lightweight. Okay, so that's where it's coming from. Okay, YCbCr and there's another one, PRCR. Okay, but now let's go to how we actually using it. So there is a fringe remove from Doug. Doug, are you here? No. So then I will show you the example of removal of the fringe in the using this color space. So here I have a very good example, I think, of a very strong chromatic aberration and fringing filling on this very much overexposed sky. Okay, so basically I'm grading this down so we'll see something, and then we're going to YCbCr. Okay, and when we're applying blur just in green and blue channels, so white channel stays as it is, and we're going out of it. Okay, we're blurring our 2 chromatic channels while luminance channel stays the same, and I think that's basically it's a pretty satisfactory result. Okay, YCbCr, blur green, blur blue, and we are done. Okay, next one, Adrian, are you here to protect your erode? So basically I did create little kind of like examples. So basically Adrian said that you can use erode of the of one of the channels, chromatic channels, to get rid of chromatic aberration. So like what we have here, I created a chromatic aberration issue, and I hope I kind of interpreted you properly. So I'm going to, again, YCbCr, and then I'm just eroding the blue channel in this case, and I'm going out. Okay, so I have to say it did solve the problem of the chromatic aberration on the one side, but for me it did introduce it on the other side. So I failed to kind of like, maybe I will have to mask, maybe I'm doing this wrongly, but that's what I managed to do. But just have it in your kind of like head. We have more examples of chromatic aberration, fixes of chromatic aberration a little bit later in different color spaces. Then, Yuri, are you here to protect the edge Despill method?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I didn't bail you.
Very good.
You can drive. I mean, it's super simple. I can just drive and show what it's doing.
Okay, good. You will talk. I will be your hands.
So essentially, this is redundant. I mean, it's the same as pretty much what everybody has been doing. So I'm using the same technique, but to do some edge extend to reduce the Despill on some blue edges or green edges. So what I'm doing is essentially doing an edge extend and then doing it using the YCbCr Colorspace and then restoring just the chromatic values of the edge extension. So what I do, I get the chroma values out of the edge, but the luminance values are untouched. So you can disable the Luma restore, the copy. Yeah, that's not necessary. So essentially, if you go to the end and disable the first copy, you will see the difference. Yeah, so essentially, I'm extending the chroma values, but I'm keeping the luminance.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is an extreme case. And if you, for example, go and enable again the luminance value, and okay, I'll disable the mask. Yeah, so you see, that's the result. So if I was using just a normal edge extend, I was getting this. But through the Colorspace, I'm gonna save a lot of artifacts.
Yeah, so exactly as Yuri is mentioning, we just bring again our chromatic channels, extension just chromatic channels. Luma is coming back in this case with the mask.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In the first copy, I'm just copying back the CB and the CR value.
Yeah.
Which is the red and the blue.
Great, thank you very much. Then another one, JPEG artifacts. Basically, that's the oldest trick I know. It's that's how can you get rid of the JPEG artifacts with YCbCr. So basically, when you're just blurring the chromatic channels, and on these examples, it just didn't work for me. So I tried to do it in a few. Do I have one with a lot of, but it's kind of just didn't do the right job. Okay, it just kind of like did something, but I would not say that it was amazing. So maybe my artifacts are too high, but basically that's something that I think like everyone started from. So you're going to from linear, in our case, to YCbCr, and then you're blurring just chromatic channels while Luma stayed the same, okay? Because these guys are the most compressed as well, because we don't care about them usually visually. Okay, next one. So YCbCr done. HSV. Okay, so HSV, it's another way to store information. Okay, so what do I have here? I have explosion, I have this edge extent, and but let's talk about this for a moment. Okay, so HSV is storing information in a huma saturation value. Okay, and if we'll go to this and we'll represent our RGB to HSV, and we'll go to red, because that will be quite important later. That's why I do want to give you some kind of luck. So if I will go to red channel, we can see that our kind of hue is stored in the circular way, okay? So, and that's important because you will be able to loop it. If you will go over 1 and if you will go under 0, you will kind of loop the colors of the color wheel in this case. Okay, color wheel just representation from 0 to 1, all the primary colors mixed together. Then if we'll go to green, we can see that our saturation is just highest here, and when it's black, meaning that there is no saturation. So that's kind of like will be your connection how to saturate or desaturate in this Colorspace. And the value in this case, I'm sorry, is just everything is 1, if I'm not mistaken. I think, yeah, okay, that's right. So the value basically is the same. It's just the amount of saturation is different here. Now let's have a look on examples. Giovanni, Giovanni, I did kind of like rebuild it a little bit, but basically I think it's the same. So, and this example was kind of like used. I will go to different frame, probably. This kind of like the most used example of using the HSV. Just I will put you just on the frame that we have here. Okay, that's good. Okay, so Giovanni,
Yeah, you choose also better elements actually, because mine was really.
Okay.
Yeah, you can grab of course. This is really a quick example probably of what we can also do with, let's say, a simple multiply, but I think that in this case we have more control of it. So basically we are changing both of the color space from, let's say, an explosion or fire or something, and fog or smoke. So we want to relight that fog or the smoke with the color coming from the explosion or the fire. So we are changing the color space from whatever it is, RGB linear or whatever, to HSV. And we are basically copying the green and red channel that in our case are representing the saturation and the value from the fire or the explosion to the fog. So, and changing back again the color space of the fog or the smoke from HSV to RGB linear or whatever it is. So in this case, we are cheating and copying the color from the fire at the explosion to the fog. It's really a simple way, quick, and I think that it's really working as we want. I'm basically using the min there just to have more control of it, so we can, let's say, switch off and on what we are doing there. But I think it's the same if we are not, let's say, adding that as a min on top of the fog.
Yeah, that will be the same. Yeah. So and the one thing that you need to remember, that right now what we did, it's not going to. So what Giovanni mentioned, that it's to give you a little bit more control, because right now we copied saturation separately, we copied the hue separately, and now we can copy also the luma, and then you can control how much actually you're going to affect the luminosity of this smoke. So basically, you're breaking the layers. You're breaking basically HSV like in 3 different kind of like areas. And when we're multiplying this, that's something that I'm usually doing. I will just multiply it in normal linear space. There will be less control over each one of them. Okay, each one of the elements. Okay, good. So then, Nikolai, you want to touch the clumping saturation in HSV?
No. Oh, hey. So, here I am.
Hey.
Yeah, this is just a very quick and fast way. Sometimes it works, sometimes it does not. When you maybe have a little bit too much saturation in a certain case, you just go to HSV, clamp your saturation channel basically, and convert it back, and you got rid of some maybe too saturated areas. It's a very specific thing. Sometimes, it's needed. Sometimes it's really just not working as expected. But yeah, it leaves all the lesser saturated areas also with a little bit of color, and it's not overall desaturated, which is a nice side effect.
All right, thank you. Okay, then we have edge extend in that's something that Yuri already spoke about in a better way. Okay, then another one is kind of fun one that I had a fun few years back quite a lot, because I kind of, when I started compositing, the first plugin that blown my mind, it was Colorama in After Effects. And I was, how did they do that? And that's kind of, how did they do that? I guess. Okay, so we're coming back to our HSV to hue. Okay, so, and that's the ramp. If you will take the ramp in the hue, in the red channel, and then you will just take constant, white constant, okay? And then you copy to this ramp to your white constant inside of the red channel, and you go to the HSV. You're going to get the basically everything, all colors basically starting from 0, all the hues. Okay, and then if you will go and you will go higher, you remember that we mentioned that it's circular, that is just like, just going to repeat itself. If you just going higher in your gain, or I think if you're going lower in your blacks, you're going to get the same kind of like a black point as well. So you can stretch it, you can squeeze it, you can go and do very weird stuff, and it's just from black to white. Now, implementations, billions of them basically. Now it's just more up to you how you're going to use it. But it's the same principle. So I collected some stuff which not necessarily amazing, but here I was like, well, let's play. I will just take a luma of this guy, and I will use it for kind of like to create the color ramp effect. Okay, exactly the same. I'm just taking the red channel of this and chucking this inside, and then we're getting this very freaky image. Now he's very detailed, so it's not very kind of like helpful. There was an amazing example of our head of 2D, Julius Ile. He was using a very same principle to create a iridescence. Okay, so what's something that you see on the on your CD, or what we saw on our CDs when CDs were around, okay, or on the bubbles and stuff. But the idea is exactly the same. Okay, so you can read about this from his blog, but it's absolutely simple. From the moment you kind of getting that. Okay, so here what I was doing here. Just I created the sphere, and then I said like, well, fine, from this sphere I will take just the from the normals, I will take kind of like the B channel, and then I will plug it in, and I will get very much a creepy effect. If I will apply noise to that, it will behave very similar to the way that we have the bubbles that's getting the same effect. Right now I just kind of like wanted to collect a little bit of or to just to have a little bit fun. For in this case I just used pref, and I shuffled one of the channels, red channel, and I've got something like that. What I was using a few years back, I wanted to visualize in better way the depths channel. Okay, so it will be not black and white, but it will be something that I will be able to manipulate and say, well, for example, I can say, well, everything blue. It's remind you something, right? It reminds you, I'm pretty sure, it's all what you see in your defocus when they're saying, well, I will show you the plane. Where is the focus, where is not the focus? Well, that's pretty much the same principle. Okay, so what else we have now? Freaky stuff. So if you will take your just simple noise and you will run through it, you will get this very cool stuff that's kind of like pretty crazy. Okay, so that's the default, and then if you will play with that, it's quite trippy. Okay, so how you're going to use that, it will be up to you. But the thing is that you can map your color channels on the ramp. It's so simple, and it gives you so much kind of like of the control in the easy way to create color patterns. You just need to remember that. Okay, very simple. White constant, only red channel is a certain gradient, and you're going from HSV to RGB, and that's what you're getting. Okay, so that's everything that we collected from approximately 60 people. Now, many of these cases are repetitive. I think the most repetitive is, and in my opinion, the most absolutely useful is the log, because that's something that's happening in like every second script approximately, that you can benefit from that. The rest is very cool, but frankly, it's kind of like always this very much case scenario, and the log is the most used just because we're working with the values above 1 so frequently. We have overexposed stuff so frequently that I would highly recommend that. What I have on the side, let's see. There is a fun thing that AI recommend me to do. It's to show you the color spaces in actual XYZ. So basically, if I will take my color wheel and I will make position to points, and that's extremely good to represent actually in the 3D space how our colors do look like. And that's the cube. Okay, that's the linear cube. And then if I will just go to the log space, yes, and this is super helpful to see how log compressed all our values. You see, we're not inside of 1 anymore, so that's where was the from 1 to 1. You see, all our values compressed in way little space, and that's kind of like the storage material. You know, this box, that's how you're storing this information, and that's how you can store information in log space. And if I will start grading stuff, I still, with the log, will be able to go, and I will stay inside of the same box for quite some time. Now, look at this on my values. My values are already 27. You're doing this in linear, you're dead. We are somewhere, guys. We are huge. Okay, so right now it's invisible just because of the bug of the nuke that is not representing the points. But basically, box is becoming huge. Okay, and this is quite cool representation of all color space. That's this YCbCr. That's how it looks like. Okay, and the lab actually was very interesting to see. You remember Ernest was talking about how our green and magenta are negated from the center. Okay, that's how that lab looks like. This is little funny stuff that I would recommend you to play with. I recommend you can play with. It's quite nice. Another tip that I've got from Adrian is to go to wider color spaces to remove the negative values, and that's something that basically very wide thing to talk about, not as wide as color space, because some color spaces are holding less values, some holding more, and when you're going from wider color space to smaller one, for example, we now here in HSV, and if I will have a look on my kind of like blacks which are negative, you can see that we have quite some negative, quite some overexposed values here. And if I will go from wider color space, which the widest what we have, I think one of the widest will be HSV 2065, and you can see that it did reduce quite significantly the amount of the negative values and also overexposed values. Okay, and if I'll go in a really wide one, I'll go to Alexa logarithmic C. As you can see, everything now is squeezed inside of this logarithmic color space inside from 0 to 1. Essential to understand, from the moment you will get out, if you do color grade inside of the log and you will get out, if you will go too strong on your values, when you will linearize this, it again will explode. Okay, because you're just going the round trip, and then you're in a kind of log. Well, that's great. If you linearize this back, it could explode quite a lot, because your color space is again going to be kind of like smaller than it was previously. Now, I can't talk about this, and we finished exactly in time. I would highly recommend you to watch the video that guys did share here. And if you will want to dig inside of the color space, there's tons of information on the, for example, on the RE side, there is explanation about the log C. There's like white papers all over the place to actually get deeper understanding of the color space, because it will affect not only the way how you're compositing, but also it will give you understanding how mostly how the information is stored, transferred, what is the kind of like, what is the assets, which is the most important for all of us, because most of us are working now in assets, and so on and so on. Then I think, yeah, we are out of time. Thank you very much. I will share this script in the WhatsApp group. Okay, so you will not get any image from here, but you will get all the snippets, and I think that will be pretty much enough for you to understand. Save it for you, and I think that will be helpful. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
All right, Alexey, you can stop the screen recording.
Hey, Stanzi. What would I do without you, Stanzi? What would I do without you? Okay, yes, doing this, right? Oh, yes, right. I'm trying to do it.
Awesome.
Awesome. Stanzi, good to see you.